What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Second Street Marvel and the morning movie chat. I hope you're all having a very good day today. I hope you all. It's basically Monday for for some people out there on their regular work week. So a lot of people heading back to work today after this holiday weekend. I hope you all had a good holiday weekend. I know I guess you could say I did. It was kind of somewhat of a lazy weekend. My son had his 5-year-old. He just turned 5 last year or last week. He just turned 5, and we had his birthday party on Saturday. Had a little party for him. Had a I did a live stream where I was decorating a cake for him. I'm not sure if you all got a chance to see that. I had one of my channel supporters here donate some money. Russell Wells Benjamin, welcome to the morning live stream. Thank you so much for being here. Now, yeah, so it was pretty. I guess you could say a pretty busy weekend, and at the same time, kind of a lazy weekend. So we got through it. It's time to everybody get back to work. If you're a viewer here in America, you know that a lot of people were off over had a 3-day holiday weekend and different things like that. Um, but me, I'm a small business owner, so a lot of times I get 3-day weekends. Sometimes I just take 2-day weekends. Sometimes I get 1-day weekends. It really just kind of depends on the kind of week it is. But here, getting to go into this holiday season, it's definitely going to be. It's going to be pretty busy. It's going to be pretty busy for me, and just what I do. But again, that's neither here nor there. I hope you're all having a very good day today. I know, like I myself actually got out this morning once again and got on my bike ride this morning. Got in a little about a 25-mile bike ride before getting here onto the chat. And I hope you guys got in a morning workout, or maybe you're going to get a chance to work out later. But regardless of anything, you should do something every single day to help improve your health, even just a little bit, and stay hydrated. I know it's a Cinemark cup, but no, and I'm not sponsored by Cinemark or anything. This is just a big cup that I use here around the house to keep my water in because I drink a lot. I drink a lot of water. I don't really drink a lot of beer, but I did have some beer on Saturday for my son's birthday. But that's neither here nor there. Today, what I want to talk about is sports films in just sports films, I guess, in general, and what do they do for us? I mean, is there any point to these movies? Do they help motivate you? Are they something that gives you kind of an inside look at different things? It's really hard to say because there's a whole bunch of different sports films out there, and there's honestly a whole bunch of different genres of sports films out there. And I was just thinking, like, where's a horror movie sports film? I don't know. Maybe one of these days they'll make one. But I was kind of thinking of this because I was out writing, and I was thinking about what I wanted to talk about here on the morning movie chat, and that's something that I'm going to actually start. I need to reach out to you guys, my viewers, a lot more. If you can go follow me on Twitter and Facebook, I know I need to start holding more polls, more questions, to just give me some more ideas of things to talk about. Because in case you guys don't know, I here on the channel, I talk a lot about movies, but I don't necessarily talk about like all of the trending topics. I mean, there's so many people out there talking about movies and all the movies that are coming out right now at the movie theater, doing reviews on them and all of those kinds of things. And there's a great variety of them to choose from. And unfortunately, I haven't really been to the movies as much this year as I normally would be in the past, as I have been in past years. A lot of that just due to personal things going on in my life. And speaking of personal things going on in my life, I just got home from my bike ride, and my cat I just got home, and my cat was eating. My wife was wondering what's wrong with the cat. There's something wrong with his leg, and his leg was broken. His back leg, his hind leg was broken. So it's pretty sad. He was sitting there eating, and he wouldn't really let my wife get close to him or anything. So she's taking him to the she's gonna take him to the hospital. I went over there and kind of felt him. I was gonna feel his leg and see how it was because I could see his paw looked a little bit swollen, and I went to touch it, and his hind leg was just sitting there, just dangling, and I feel pretty bad for him. I love my kitty cat. I'm sure we all have animals that we love, and if you don't, I mean, Maybe you don't. Maybe you're just not an animal lover. Maybe you just don't have one. Maybe you live in an apartment or you have a house, you're renting a house or something like that where they don't allow pets. And I totally get that. And yes, I am a cat lover, but I also love dogs too. We just need eventually at one of these days we're gonna get a dog, and I'd love to get a nice big box. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. But best sports films. There are a lot of sports films out there. Some that I truly do enjoy. Joseph Lennon, welcome to the live stream. Thank you so much for being here. Russell Wells Benjamin says best sports films, the Airbud saga. you know, that's pretty funny. I've never actually watched Airbud, but I know that a lot of people do like those movies, and I know, like, I think my children have watched some of those. I think they've watched maybe one of those Airbud movies. And yeah, some of them are cute in ways and things like that. They obviously we had Space Jam a while back, but it just kind of makes me wonder: does Airbud really count as a sports movie? Because I've got some others that I want to bring up that kind of make me think the same thing. Like, do they count as sports movies? Like, take for instance the Karate Kid. Does that count as a sports movie? I mean, it's not necessarily centered around sports, but yet it is, because karate is a sport. I mean, it's more like a discipline more than it is a sport. But you can see he actually went to a tournament and everything like that. I mean, that definitely classifies it as a sport. We got UFC out there as a sport. We got golf that is somehow a sport. And we've also even, baseball, hockey, all of these different kind of things, which, bringing up Airbud is like a perfect thing to segue into what I wanted to talk about was just things like even like rollerblading and things like that. Obviously, I'm sure there's competitive, and maybe not today still, but there are competitive roller sports. Like we got roller derby and just different things like that. Some of them were more prevalent in the past than they are now. But for one thing for me is, like, and I was talking about this the other week about being inspired by movies. I like to be inspired by things, and that's something I definitely take away, like in the superhero genre, you know what I mean, or even in like a Bruce Lee film, I'm sure, especially if you're dude, you've gotten out of like a Bruce Lee flick or even The Matrix, and you're walking around and you're like, man, I wish somebody would come and mess with me, man. Because all of a sudden you feel like you can do karate just because you watched a movie and you visualize things, and and it just kind of gives you, or Rocky, you know what I mean? You go in and watch a movie about Rocky, but then again, like Rocky's another one of those. Is Rocky a movie about sports? Is it a sports film? And that's the tricky thing, because one of the all-time great films about sports to me is obviously Quicksilver. I'm just kidding, obviously. The Quicksilver was actually a pretty good movie. I haven't seen that since I was a kid. It's something I need to get, because you guys know I'm a cyclist, so it's something I definitely need to look up. But seriously, one of the all-time great movies is The Natural. I'm not sure if you guys have ever seen The Natural. It's got I was about to say Robert De Niro. Not Robert De Niro, but Robert. Man, why did I all of a sudden forget his name? Um, Man, you guys know Jeremiah Johnson. You know the old meme where he's looking over his shoulder. Yeah. Anyway, oh man, here I am forgetting the star's name. But anyway, The Natural is a movie where God, I can't remember what the name of the character in the movie is, but you know what? Now that we're here and we're already here talking about it, I got to talk about that. I got to look that up. Because all of a sudden I went blank. But yes, The Natural. It was this movie about this baseball player, and it wasn't actually like a true to life movie. It wasn't based on fact or anything. But it was a very good. It was a drama. Um, and Robert Redford, duh. But it was basically about this baseball player who had this gift, and he went on and played baseball, and a lot of great stars in it. But there's always these like these resounding messages in films. You know what I mean? Like this one actually happened to be about a guy who was coming up in baseball. He ended up having a debilitating disease, and it started to affect his play, and just things always seem to happen in an untimely manner. And there's a lot of things to take out of movies, and I think sports movies are definitely some that are very overlooked, and it seems like we get less and less of them every single year. But I like movies like that, like the Natural. Remember the Titans. There's usually always some sort of there's always some sort of goal, like obstacle to overcome. Like somebody's facing something in their lives, and I think I like I said, I draw a lot of things of inspiration from movies and things like that, and it's something that definitely helps me out. Um, but like movies like the Remember the Titans and the Natural, and we see these kinds of movies, and these kinds of dramas are things that ultimately in a lot of these we see things that things that are going on in our society. They are mere reflections, whether they are true or not, and or things that actually happen, but they always mirror things that are happening in our reality, which I think is something important to show to everybody, because through a lot of these movies we learn overcoming adversity. Something that a lot of people these days seem to be lacking is the ability to go out there and be challenged and have something pushed back at you, and have some nobody, it seems like a lot of people these days aren't looking for that. Everybody wants to take the easy route. Russell Wells Benjamin says, speaking of De Niro movies, just watched Taxi Driver and The King of Comedy in anticipation for the Joker movie coming out, and wow, both films blew away my expectations. Yeah, yeah. And you know what, one I've never seen, I think I've seen part of it when I was a kid, but Raging Bull, another great De Niro film that I've never seen. But yeah, Taxi Driver. Oh man, Taxi Driver is one hell of a movie. I actually own that on DVD. Yeah, DVD, not Blu-ray. Um, but yeah, Taxi Driver is an absolutely great film, and you can see a lot of movies take inspiration from a movie like Taxi Driver, and just everything that's kind of going on there. But yeah, and King of Comedy is one I haven't ever actually seen, which I should, because man, who all is in that movie, King of Comedy? But yeah, De Niro is definitely one of our all time great actors. Definitely one of our all time great actors, and getting back into these sports films, there's always these things that you see in all these sports films that is something that I think Hollywood these days could definitely take some lessons from. Because in a lot of these films we see people, whether they are people of color, women, and different things like that, who are not necessarily oppressed, but have to go against these challenges in life and overcome these challenges, and they do so not even gracefully, but they do so in being challenged and wanting to be that better person. Which kind of brings up that there's that recent movie that's out at the theater right now. I've been meaning to go see. I honestly wasn't even sure that it was already out, because sometimes movies and studios, they don't do the best at advertising their movies and telling you when they're coming out. But Brian Banks is out at the movie theaters right now, and it's one I've been wanting to see, because once again we see a guy who is basically thrust into the law system, I guess, and he's obviously a black man, and he has a lot of challenges to overcome, and I can't remember exactly what he was accused of in that movie, if it was a murder or possibly a rape. But either way, this guy ends up doing some time. He ends up getting out. He serves his time. He's not. It looks like he's not one of these guys who's going to sit around and dwell on the past and the things that have happened to him. And that's something that I think far too many people do in a lot of things. Even those of us who haven't had to overcome challenges. I know certainly in my life I have, and part of that, part of me pushing forward and going through and facing challenges has to do with films exactly like this. Films that inspire one to go on. Morning Goku on Second Street. How you doing, 19K Fox? Welcome to the live stream. I hope you're having a good morning. Just here talking about some sports movies, and and just what they inspire us to do. And like I said, it seems like we see less of these movies, but I kind of think at the same time we should see more of them, because like I said, in most of these movies we see people overcoming adversity, and it's a lesson that we don't see quite as much anymore these days in films. It seems like these days, with just, and not even really political or agenda based movies, we don't see as many of these movies where people are facing challenges and having to overcome them in a real type world scenario. I mean, like I was talking about last week, I finally watched Alita Battle Angel, and while that one's a great movie, you see somebody overcoming a lot of challenges and things like that. It's a cyberpunk film, and it's not really based on reality. And I think there's a lot of things, and that works in that type of film. But we also got to look at, what are some real life things, real life movies, based on real life or loosely based on real life. Where you see real life people in these situations and overcoming them. I think it's something, that we all should aspire to. We should all want to watch these movies, and take what from these movies what we can, which is where we see somebody in these tough situations who has the strength and the fortitude to go ahead and keep pushing forward to overcome these challenges. And we can always see in these movies that it's never an easy thing. And and a lot of the things, that's where we find out through these movies. We always hear all these stories about this person that was self-made or this and that, and these people claiming that, people, I guess more people claiming that they're self-made, which, if you guys know anything, I mean, there's really no truth to any of that ever. Nobody is really self-made. It takes a lot of people helping somebody to be successful. I mean, not even necessarily people that are on your side, but I mean, people who are against you, people who are helping you train, different things like that. And a lot of them are great allegories to what we need in our lives. We always need supportive people in our lives, helping us to go out there and be successful. And if you guys have been following me here on my channel long enough, and I swear I need to get through and make some more of those videos, because I have one planned I've been wanting to do, but being successful is it's really a team effort. And no matter what you're doing, you can have all the talent in the world, but at some point you're still going to need somebody there helping you out. And that's what I think a lot of these sports types of movies do for us. We see that there's, maybe somebody who is, on this person's side, who wants to help better this person. We've all got to overcome these obstacles. And like I said, we just don't see enough of it in films anymore, where we got these people who are facing these challenges and have to overcome them in real life scenarios. And I guess that's kind of something we're I don't know, something we've got to look at. Go and it's really hard these days, because it seems like a lot of the writers and just the studios and things like that aren't as interested in these films. And sometimes it just makes me wonder why not. Like like I was talking about, Remember the Titans. A lot of these types of movies, and I think we need more of these types of movies too, because they talk about teamwork. And you can go and find, a lot of times you can find real life stories of people who went through these similar type situations, maybe who they're based off of, or things like that. But again, so like I was saying, The Natural was definitely one of my favorite ones. Remember the Titans is a good one. But then it kind of made me start thinking of, what other types of movies are there out there that are similar to that, but aren't quite the same. Things that we don't see so much. Like I say, it's always great to see some of these films and walk out inspired. Hopefully not necessarily make you a better person, but hopefully they help you see things in a different light. Maybe realize, the humility that we all have, that we all need to face, and things like that in our lives, because that's ultimately what we have to deal with as human beings, out there interacting with each other, whether you're or if you're in your job, or you're going to school, or anything like that. Life is always full of challenges, and you should never give up. You should never give up. And even in things like, I was thinking about one of, like a cheesy movie I was grew up watching. But you guys ever remember? God, what was the name of that movie? Was it Airborne? It was Airborne, where there was a kid who moved from. God, I can't remember exactly where he moved from, but it probably wasn't even the Midwest. But then he ended up moving out to Los Angeles. He was a hockey player. He loved to play hockey. He got out to Los Angeles, and he started going to school. And of course, naturally, he gets into the school. He falls in love with a girl, or ends up crushing over a girl. And it turns out her brother is like his biggest bully there. Once he gets to this new school, he tries out for the hockey team, and uh, just obviously faced a lot of opposition. And then eventually he gets into rollerblading, and that's when we're introduced to Jack Black and Seth Green and all these kinds of things. And it's just kind of a funny, cheesy, kind of coming of age story. But once again, it's one of these stories where we see, somebody goes, it's kind of a fish out of water, gets into a new school, faces a bunch of obviously has bullies and people just who aren't on his side, right? And then eventually, at some point, they all kind of come together towards the very end and kind of become friends. And it's one of those. It's a touchy, feel good kind of movie, right? Um, definitely another good one. But it kind of made me think, like, does that really count as a sports movie? I mean, they're talking about they got hockey in there, they've got some rollerblading, and there was this really. Do you guys remember Devil's Backbone? Maybe I need to go out here to LA and see if I can find where they shot that Devil's Backbone and break out my old Bauer rollerblades and go roll around Los Angeles for a little fun and see if I can't not get killed. It's bad enough that I'm a cyclist. I'm out there. I'm out here riding on these roads where people commute on, between here and Santa Clarita, trying to escape death. I couldn't imagine doing it through town, in a thing called Devil's Backbone. But yeah, that was honestly one of the first films that I ever seen Jack Black in. God, and if you ever go back and watch that movie, Jack Black looks really young in that movie. It was a really great film. But then it started making me think of, like I was saying at the beginning of the show, like Quicksilver. I'm not sure, I'm a cyclist. You guys ever seen that movie Quicksilver where Kevin Bacon was in there? What was he? He was like a messenger, and then all of a sudden, he's thrust into this world of, but I think he was bicycle racing and stuff. I don't know. It's a movie I haven't seen forever. Something I definitely need to check out again. But then it started making me think of like Premium Rush. Have you guys seen Premium Rush? Where Joseph Gordon-Levitt is there. He's delivering. He's a bicycle messenger in New York. Obviously, gets caught up in basically the wrong delivery, and it ends up taking him on a big old adventure. And it was a really great movie. And they did so many different styles. Um, oh, it's a trash man. So many different things going on in this movie. Like as far as bicycle styles, we see him thrashing through town on his fixie bike. And if in case you guys don't know what a fixie is basically a fixed gear bicycle. Most times, like the ones that I have, I've got one that's a chromoly and one that a chromoly steel bike, and the other one's aluminum. But basically, what you do is you got one gear. Okay, there's only one gear. There's no gear shifters on it, and that's it. You got your front chain ring. Usually, it kind of depends on the size and the kind of power you got. But then in the very back, you got one gear. There is no shifting or anything. Stu Jersey X, welcome to the live stream. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate it. So. And a fixed gear bike is something that's definitely tricky to ride. Now, I kind of ride mine the same way that they do in the movie Premium Rush, where I don't have any brakes on my fixed gear bike, and a lot of people think that that's nuts. It's pretty crazy, and you know what? Sometimes it feels like it is, but I remember like the first time I rode a fixed gear bike, like it was scary. It was scary in a way that I was like, man, like this is kind of scary, and I like it. You know what I mean? I like it, and um, Russell Wells Benjamin says King of Comedy is another De Niro movie. He did an amazing job. Watch it before you see Joker. I will, because I heard somebody saying that it might have some parallels to that movie, and I definitely got to check that out. Sorry, I had a phone call. I'm a little behind on the stream. No, it's all good, man. It's all good. Um, so yeah, like I was saying, on Premium Rush, these fixed gear bicycles they're dangerous bicycles to ride. Okay, like you see in the movie, he's dodging through town, dodging through traffic without brakes or anything, and a lot of people really think this is really kind of crazy, almost suicidal. And after riding one for quite a while, it's really not, because you think about when you're on a bicycle. The one thing I tell a lot of people when they're like, "Are you crazy?" is that when I'm on my fixed gear bike, I can only go so fast on it. Chances are most of the time I'm barely breaking 20 miles an hour. We're on my road bike, oh, it's not in here. My carbon road bike. It's got all kinds of gears and everything. It's got all the doodads, man. Like it's like a $12,000 bicycle. Like I can get on that thing and I can easily cruise at 20 miles an hour, just steady. But when you get on a fixed gear bike, it's a little bit different. You're running on the power of yourself. So basically, as long as that back wheel is turning, your legs are turning. All right. So when you don't have brakes, I mean, what's that mean? You got to do? You've either got to stoppie, which is where you basically just lock your legs out and let that, and you put a lot more weight on your handlebars, and you just lock your legs out, and the back wheel just stops and it skids, and you skid to a stop, and then other than that, you're fighting force, with your legs. You can either slow down pedaling, or like I kind of do, is I'll put some weight in my heels, and just kind of slow down as I'm slowing down pedaling. It's some really crazy. It's it's definitely a different bike riding experience. But after I've been on some vacations, I went out of town, and I took my bike with me, and I swore once I went on a vacation once, and I didn't take my bike. I went to Chicago, and I was like, never again, never again. I will always be taking my bicycle with me to get around, or even just to get a different experience riding. And that's one of the things, like in the movie Premium Rush, I would definitely like to do, is go riding through New York City, and of course I would be on my Chromoly bicycle, and just seeing how the different environments are. But really, when you get, like I was saying, when you get down to it, riding a fixed gear bike isn't that dangerous. It's just, how much risk you're willing to take, and different things like that. It's really just the same as anything else. But and it begs the question for me too. Like, is that movie really a sports movie? I'm not for sure. Because I was thinking about a lot of these sports movies, and I think, like, most of these movies are dramas, but most of them are always really well done. I mean, I haven't really seen one that's like terrible. Like, God, what was another one? Hockey player becomes a figure skater. Remember that movie, Cutting Edge? God, who was in that? DB Sweeney? Was it DB Sweeney? And I can't remember the girl who was in that. She was really beautiful, but I always like that movie where the hockey player ends up going. He was a professional hockey player, and he gets injured and ends up going into ice skating, and finding out that he actually has a pretty good talent for it. But again, these some of these types of films really made me wonder: are they more about sports, or are they more dramas? And that's, kind of what I've been talking about here, is gaining inspiration from a lot of these types of movies. Russell Wells Benjamin says De Niro's character is Joker. Character in Joker is playing homage to the king of comedy for sure. Yeah, that's kind of what it looks like too, just from what I know about that movie, The King of Comedy. Blades of Glory. Blades of Glory. Okay, I'm gonna count that one as a definite sports movie. And that movie is absolutely that movie is hilarious. And what's funny is, a lot of people, it definitely doesn't get any critical acclaim or anything like that, and it's definitely not amongst Will Ferrell's best movies. But that movie is absolutely ridiculous. Gosh, and what's his name in there? Napoleon Dynamite. John Heater. I actually met John Heater at Bob's Big Boy down in Burbank, and I'm not sure if you guys have ever been to LA, or maybe if you live in LA or anything like that. But let me tell you one thing: if you ever get to LA, you gotta go to Bob's Big Boy and try it out. And when you go to Bob's Big Boy, there's other ones out there, but there's really only one. There's the one that you got to go to, and it's the one in Burbank. I believe it's off the 130. Oh God, what is it? The 134? I can't remember, but it's right there in Hollywood. That's the one that you have to go to. Is the one right there. It seems like every single time we're in there, there's somebody famous. Like, we run into somebody there, and just based on where it's at, there's probably, chances are, you're gonna run into somebody. But yeah, Blades of Glory was was a good one. Will Ferrell absolutely cracks me up. And God, who else is in that? Jenna, um, not Jenna Elfman, but the other Jenna from The Office. Man, why am I forgetting her name all of a sudden? But yeah, great movie, great movie. Studio GX says sports movies, Little Giants. Man, I haven't watched that movie in a long time, But again, there's lessons in that movie to be learned too, and that's one of the ultimate things is almost makes me on your coffee cold. Yeah. Um, but yeah, and that's the thing is, you see a lot of these movies, and that's one of the things I like about these movies is, taking the inspiration from it. They make you feel a certain way, and I like, I always walk out of the movie when I feel that way. I just always kind of feel like I wish I could keep that going, that inspiration, and that's one of the things that I think is so great about some of these movies is we see them, and they can help give you that feeling, that takes me from the bike riding and stuff straight into, we're just gonna go there right now. Rocky, okay, we're going into the boxing movies. Um, Rocky Balboa, okay? These movies are absolutely great. Now, a lot of people can argue about, oh, which ones are good, which ones aren't, and this and that. Some that were bad, and I've got to say, I've watched all the Rocky movies, and I got to tell you, I haven't seen a bad one yet. And they're definitely inspirational movies. Definitely good dramas. Like the first one, I was gonna show it to my daughters. To my kids and make them watch it, but I was realizing, you know what, like maybe part two is more their speed, you know what I mean, or part three, because like no, part one was really is one of those films like I was talking about the other day. It's more of a story based movie, you know what I mean. Like there's more story to it than there is just about anything. It's one of those movies that you could see like you could probably make on a fairly low budget, whereas you're just being introduced to these characters and kind of their background and exactly what's going on in boxing just happens to be his way to make something of himself in the world. And that's something that we get, we obviously see with a lot of fighters out there, whether it's boxers, UFC, and things like that. Is there's a lot of people out there who fall into into these types of sports. Who that's their life. Their life is struggle. I know. God, was it Mike Tyson? Was talking about his son wanting to be a boxer, and I think Mike Tyson even said about his son, like, he don't have it in you don't have it in you, you just don't have it in you. um and not in the sense that he don't have confidence in his son or anything, but his son basically grew up in a world where not that he had everything given to him, but he didn't go through all the struggles that Mike Tyson had to. He didn't have to grow up being a fighter, and that's what we see in a lot of these films is people who have to go basically going through their lives, and that's their only choice. Some of these people have no choice but to be fighting, because that's all they've got. Maybe they've had problems in schools, maybe they've been kicked out of schools, maybe there's something else in life. Maybe they've dropped out of school because they've had to get jobs to support their family or anything like that. And as ridiculous as that seems, nowadays you're like, oh, what are you talking about? There are still people who get in those situations. And and it's always inspiring to see people like that who basically rise from the ashes, and that's basically what the first Rocky movie is all about. You see a guy who's pretty much a bum, he's a loser, and he kind of feels that way about himself. You never hear him really say it, but what's going through his life, just as he's going through his life, that's kind of really all what he's doing. He's just basically a loser. He ends up falling in love with his best friend, with his best friend's sister, and she ends up she helps give him the inspiration to carry on, especially in like Rocky Part Two, and things like that. But these are once again movies that help inspire me. You know what I mean? When I see some of these things, they make you feel this certain way. When you get them watching them, and I think that's something that I like doing, and that's part of the reason why I started doing, and I need to do more of them. Is the superhero life tips? Is I like to see people be successful. You know what I mean? I like watching people in the journey, and I think that's something that I definitely like about these types of movies. One of the things, in case you guys don't know, like like I said, I'm a cyclist. I like I go out and I ride my bicycle a whole lot. I've done some racing. I guess you could say it's not professional racing, but it was basically the steps that you take to get into professional racing that I went through here. Like here in the United States, you have to go through, God, what is it, USAC? I can't remember, but basically you have to sign up. You get a license. You pay X amount of dollars a year, and you get placed in, like, you start off in a Category 5, and you go to Cat 4, Cat 3, Cat 2, Cat 1, and then beyond that there's the pros, and it's definitely something that's not easy to do. And so yeah, a handful of years ago, I went ahead and went out and did some bike racing. But a lot of times, like I was saying, is it always takes somebody to inspire us, something that leads you on. And one of the things I've always liked is hearing people's success stories, and I think that's one of the things I like about this movie is, like I said, I don't know, I guess about 10 years ago now, I was like 260 pounds. My wife was pregnant with my daughter and everything. When my daughter was actually born, she'll be 10 in February, so right around there. But I was already riding bikes. I mean, I was I was 260 pounds, but I went on this weight loss journey, I guess you could say. I was, like I said, I was already riding bikes and everything, but one night after my daughter was born, it's funny too, because it's, like, thinking about it, it's kind of one of those kinds of stories, like, if there was a book about my life, would it inspire anybody? If there was a movie about it, my daughter was born, and it'd be 10 years in February. But like immediately after she was born, one night I was sitting there. I used to drink. I used to smoke cigarettes. I used to drink a lot. Not like a lot, but I used to smoke cigarettes. I used to drink, and I was riding bikes, and I was doing a whole bunch of different things too. But I remember one night I was sitting there after my daughter was born, and I was watching. I had seen these infomercials on TV a lot, but I was sitting there watching it. I was kind of drunk, and that's how they get you, at 3 o'clock in the morning while you're drinking. I was sitting there, and my daughter started crying. My wife woke up, it was breastfeeding her and everything. And I was watching this, thing, and I'm like, man, like, I can't really, like, I can't be in this condition to take care of my kids. My kids they're babies. Well, at the time it was just my daughter. She's a baby, and like right now, it's like 2 o'clock in the morning. I'm drunk as hell, and if I had to do something, like if my whatever, like my wife was tired, she was at work or anything like that, I couldn't. I couldn't take care of my baby right now. So, but what I did was I seen this infomercial on TV for P90X. So I went ahead and I ordered this P90X. It came in the mail, and immediately, like as soon as it came in the mail, my mom was in town visiting when it came in, and we went out to the garage and worked out. Did the first workout that day. And we were staying at my sister-in-law's house, and I was 260 pounds. I couldn't do a pull-up to save my life, and even still today I still struggle with doing pull-ups, because I obviously don't have the kind of lats to that are strong enough to help keep pulling me up. But of course, the more weight I lose, the easier it gets. But you just kind of learn things. But so I went ahead and I ordered this P90X and started working out. And I'm telling you, we did that first workout as much as we could and modified as much as we could. Because like I said, I was 260 pounds. Man, I woke up the next day, dude. I was so damn sore. Man, I was sore. I had that delayed onset muscle soreness for a couple of days. But then, 2 days later, because P90X is a program that goes for 90 days, and then like the second day they have a workout that you're supposed to do. There was absolutely no way I was going to work out the next day, but I wasn't so bad that then the next day after that, I did the next workout. And then I did the next workout, and for like the first 90 days, of that program, it's 90 days is what the 90 and P90X stands for. I did only the workouts. I didn't really get much of like the plyometrics and just some of the other things done, but I started. And that's what it takes. And that's, I was just kind of inspired, like I said, by my daughter, and just by these other things that were, just kind of going on in my life. And just the need and the want to do better, because I knew that, having kids and everything, I'm like, man, I've got to do something to stay around for them longer, but I also got to do stuff that will hopefully help motivate them and hopefully get them to want to be better people in the world, to see that I have goals and that I go after them, and I'm not scared of them, and nothing's really going to hold me back from them, because the same thing is like these movies did for me, I have to do for my kids. Because when I was growing up, I didn't have, my father wasn't into sports or anything like that. He was a working man. And like, sure, he had goals and things like that, but his goals, he didn't aspire to the same things like I do. And my mom neither. There was really nobody else in my life, in my personal life, that I had to look to, for these kinds of things. So a lot of times what it was just movies like this, movies like a Rocky Balboa, movies like The Natural, or the Mighty Ducks, or anything like that, anything to take inspiration from. And I was a little kid growing up in the Midwest, and there in the Midwest, you think there's nothing that you can do, nothing that's going to happen that's going to change your life. You think you can't do things, and that was kind of my whole mental mindset when I was a kid growing up in the Midwest. I'm like, man, I can't do anything. And then eventually, while I was doing on my journey, on my health journey, doing this P90X, this P90X, I went through and I did this first 90 days, and I lost weight. I did pretty good. And the one thing, I was, even at 260 pounds, I was still healthy. You know, and maybe I need to do a video on my like my health journey as part of my superhero life tips. Because if I can, believe me, if I can do it, you can too. Anybody can do it. Um, but I got through these 90 days. I was pretty fit. You know, I had people, you know, like at work, like, wow, like what were you doing? You know, what'd you do? You know, I was telling them, and I had a couple friends who were, you know, and they're not people who were like me, who were so 260 pounds out of shape. But I had other friends too. You know, they were like, oh man, like yeah, I tried that program, man. I couldn't do it, man. Like I was so sore and all this stuff. And once again, you know, and people would ask me like, you know, like do you feel better now that you've lost that weight? You know, do you like you feel healthier and things like that? And you know, I got to tell you, even when I was smoking and drinking and all that stuff, and I was 260 pounds, I told them like, no. You know, I don't. I'm happier with myself because I don't because I'm not all chubby and everything. But like the one thing was, like I said, through my whole life, I was always inspired by these things, and I was always pretty active. I just you know did things that one probably shouldn't do, and but I was like, no, which I thought was kind of crazy because I never really, you know, at 260 pounds, I didn't really have any, I didn't have any bad health signals. I wasn't in any kind of jeopardy or anything with my health. But that was one of the things too was, you know, but I also, you know, when people would ask, I'm like, I'm a self motivated person. You know what I mean? Something that just kind of happened through my journey of just other things in my life that kind of carried me forward. Yeah, you should. That would be cool. Yeah, and it's something I want to do. I've got pictures. I don't really have a whole lot of videos or anything of my journey, but it's something I definitely want to share along with you guys. And you know, because you know, one of the things I always seem to forget to tell everybody is, in case you guys don't know, my name is Trinity. Okay, Trinity. Okay, and I always forget to tell people that. And I was actually recently talking with another one of my favorite content creators here on YouTube, and he was, you know, somebody who really knows this whole YouTube gig pretty well. It was Josh over at the Denim Nerds. I'm not sure if you guys know Josh, but excellent channel. And if you guys don't know the Denim Nerds, you guys need to go check them out. I'm sure most of the people here on my live stream do actually know who the Denim Nerds are, but I mean, they're this close to hitting 100,000 subscribers, and I know they've grown that channel a lot just since I started following them. Because I swear, I started following them last year, and I don't think they were maybe at 20K, 25K when I started watching them. And then like just over like these past couple of months, man, they've really exploded. And again, that's, you know, something inspirational. But I was talking to Josh the other day, and that was one of the things that he had told me. He's like, you know, because he told me, he's like, your name is Trinity, right? And I'm like, yeah. He goes, you should say that a lot more in your videos, because you know, just getting that personal thing out there really helps a lot of viewers connect with you and things like that. And I was like, you know what, I've been thinking about that. I need to tell more about myself so you guys get to know me a little bit better. I mean, I do the live streams on Fridays where I get a little more personal about who I am, and I realize like even through that you kind of get to know me, but you still don't know me. You know what I mean? And yeah, again, my name is Trinity. So yeah, but that's something I've been wanting to document, is go through, and I've got pictures and all that stuff. You know, people are going to have to see me without my shirt on at 260 pounds. I mean, let me tell you, man, it was still beautiful. It was still beautiful, all this. But anyway, the point being is that I started on this journey, and people were asking me, like, hey, you know, what was it hard and this and that? And I'm like, no, it wasn't. Because I didn't have any debilitating health problems, but I've also got that mental fortitude to keep pushing myself to go forward, and I don't stop. I just don't quit. I don't have it in me. You know, I think one of the last things I actually quit, aside from my job, was God, you know, and it was something I kind of regret, but it was something I just really wasn't into at that time, was football. I played football through my 8th grade year, started going into my 9th grade year, made it part way through the season. It's just like, man, you know, like this isn't for me. You know, I liked football, but I didn't like it enough back then. And then, you know, it was just something else. Like you know, I grew up skateboarding. I grew up rollerblading. I grew up roller skating. Roller skating was one of the funnest things that I ever did. And this is something that actually plays into what I am now, like who I am now, I guess. And you know, all of these things that kind of culminated. And a lot of it is due to films, but then, you know, films that lead me eventually to finding other things in my life that inspire me. And you know, it's a movie, you know, it's definitely one of those movies I'd like to see, because like I said, I grew up in the Midwest. I was really into skating, skateboarding, just anything that propelled me forward on wheels, that was self powered by me. And it eventually, through all these things I was doing through my health journey, I came across this guy named Eric Heiden. Okay, I ended up buying this book because, after doing P90X, I was a little bit slimmer, and I just wanted to continue to grow my knowledge and health and things like that. And these are things that have always intrigued me, and so I got into that, and I found out about this guy Eric Heiden. And Eric Heiden, he was an Olympic speed skater. I believe he won a gold medal even as an Olympic speed skater, and then he eventually went on, to be a cyclist, and he got into the Tour de France, and he was part of the 7-Eleven squad and everything like that growing up. And I would love to see a movie about this dude's life, because he's a doctor. He eventually went on to be a doctor. He wrote this book that I bought, called Bigger, Bigger, Faster, Stronger, Better, Faster, Stronger. Better, stronger, faster. And it's one of these things. It's a book. He kind of tells about his life, and it really, any great thing out there teaches you about progression. Any great book or any great program teaches you about progression. And it's something I kind of had to learn along the way, and it's something that we even get out of these films, where a lot of times we just see montages throughout these films. You're gonna need a montage. um and that's something that we get in these films, and it's something that I think that should be dove into more when we're watching some of these films, is the actual process, as opposed to getting that montage out there that eventually we see the person, all of a sudden, they go through a little training montage and that's it. Because there's just nuances within a training program, things that must be done, like to build a house, you need a good foundation. And it's the same thing, whether anything that you're going through in your life, and even the process of making a movie, you got to have a good foundation. That would start with a good story, or script, when we're talking about movies. But yeah, and it's something we just don't see enough of through these movies, is seeing that progression of what it takes. A lot of times we see people coming together, and we see the process, and things like that, where they're talking about teamwork and stuff like that. But eventually it does take this process, and I think it's something that I could play into a lot more people's psyche, as opposed to, we see our person that goes down on their luck. We get a little montage, and bam, they're at the top of their game. And I think that it's all those little details that are in the middle, that the struggles, and the fighting towards those goals, that I think we need to see more of. And I think it's something that could definitely help benefit just about everybody out there in this world, because not everybody is like me, or maybe like you, where you might be self-inspired, or you might be self-motivated, where you can keep yourself moving forward, and just overcoming these goals. So this guy Eric Heiden, like I said, he went on to be on the Olympic speed skating, into the Tour de France, and just all of these kinds of things. I'm like, man, this guy right here needs to have a movie. And then and this was all happening when I was getting into cycling, and just my journey that I've had there, and now without even trying, now, I've just been. And it's funny how your body changes over all these times, because I was overweight for all this time, and it seemed like, your body looks a certain way. I always kind of felt fat, you know what I mean? Even still today, I have these images of myself where I still feel fat. And it's something I've got to let go of. I've got to get past, you know what I mean? The because ultimately that's a lot of things that hold us back, is our own obstacles in our own mind. And even these days, you'll still see me call myself a fat person. But even these days, when I get to 190, I notice that my body composition looks a lot different than when I was 190, when I was on my journey, working my way down in weight, and just making progress on just in my journey as a cyclist, and things like that. And it seems like the more time it goes on, and I think this happens to a lot of people, whether you're in boxing, whether you're UFC, whether you're in football, whether you're whatever sport that you might be in, is it kind of becomes a part of your life, and it changes you, in that way. You get into these routines, and different things like that, and it can really help improve your life. And in ways that we don't even see. And that's kind of one of the powerful things, and one of the things I like about seeing all these movies. Just like carry me and inspire me to carry forward. Russell Wells Benjamin says, hey, bud, I got a DBZ quiz question for you. What does the symbol Goku's kanji on your shirt mean? This one right here actually isn't Goku. This one would be for the Z Fighters, and I want to say this one is actually Master Roshi. I want to say this one's actually Master Roshi. I would actually have to. I'd probably actually have to ask my wife, because I know I went through all of that stuff as well. Because I know there's different symbols for the different ones. Like the Goku one, the Goku one looks a little bit different than this one. But yeah, this one was. I'm pretty sure this one was just like the Turtle Hermit's symbol that he had for him, and then eventually you see Goku go on and he gets his own symbol later, after he basically started training himself. And you see like Piccolo had his own as well, that he had on his gi on the back of it, which Gohan actually wore for a while. I don't know. I could be wrong. Like I said, my wife is more knowledgeable about stuff like that, and definitely her sister, because they're Japanese. They understand all that. But these a lot of times they're not even done traditionally, because I was asking about some of the things, some of the translations in the cartoons and stuff, and my sister-in-law was telling me, she goes, it's really hard to say what they're saying, because I was when I watch Dragon Ball Z, I watch it with the Japanese audio, and I just read subtitles, because I like it a lot better that way. Like, I've watched them all with the American voices and all that stuff, but for me, like, I've really taken to liking them in the Japanese. But when I was asking her about it, she goes, wow, it's really crazy, because they're talking a lot of slang in the cartoons. What they're doing is, it's not exactly proper Japanese. So yeah. He started wearing it after his training to go to Namek. I mean, it could be, but I'm pretty sure that's the one that's the Turtle Hermit. I could be wrong. I'll look that up. One of these days, I need to do more videos on Goku and Dragon Ball Z and things like that. Because yeah, because like I said, I'm a huge I used to really be huge into like the whole DBZ thing, and I actually own all of those series. And again, that's one that kind of inspires me too. Dragon Ball Z. You go through there and you see that Goku, he obviously goes through all the tournaments when he is a child, and then the world tournaments. Even as he gets older, the cell games and all of these different types of things. But you also see a lot of times, what it takes is, we see him doing the training and things like that, and what it ultimately comes down to is, taking in and knowing oneself. And that I guess that's one of the things that a lot of people probably need to get more in tune with. And I guess that's kind of what all this leads to is knowing oneself, to be able to like you got to know your boundaries. You got to know how far you can go in order to push those boundaries. I think a lot of times people get in these situations where you're going, and I think Bruce Lee was the one who said it. Like a lot of most people don't even know that they have a second wind, because they don't push themselves hard enough to get through the first one, which I think is a very true thing. And it's again, it comes down to knowing oneself, to keep pushing forward, and having goals and things like that in life, or even if it's just a short-term goal that you've got to go through and hit. His progression is a great story. Honestly, the quality of his story has been lost on a lot of new animes, and that's true too. That's true, because he came from it's a funny story. Like that's what I love about the Dragon Ball series. And people nowadays would probably look at it and be like, geez, like, we can't show this stuff, or like, what are you showing this stuff on TV and cartoons? Like when, like, all the adventures when he was a kid, like when he's like Bulma finds out he has a tail, and he finds out Bulma don't have a tail, if you know what I mean. And just some of the things that happen in there. Master Roshi, who is obviously somewhat of a perv, and just those different kind of things. But yeah, it's definitely a progression that goes through in his life, and we see like basically a little kid who's just young and naive, doesn't really know the world, having to go through it and learn things the hard way. and even on his own journey, he has struggles. He don't know his powers. He doesn't know that he's a Saiyan, and turns into this big giant monkey. With the exception of My Hero Academia, great show. I've never seen that one. I've heard some people talk about it, and I think God, I've been seeing the comic books coming out for that as well, I believe. And anime is not one that I dive into enough of. But yeah, and the thing is like with Dragon Ball Z. I mean, it's the same kind of thing. We see the stories going on in there. Having to have the mental fortitude to push forward. In case you've seen, like the beginning, God, what was it, during the Saiyan saga, when little Gohan goes with Piccolo to be trained, and just all of the things that he went through. He was full of self-doubt. He was scared a lot of times, and he eventually ends up overcoming these obstacles and comes out, and like Piccolo was there watching him the whole time, trying to, somewhat keeping him out of trouble. But I think, again, those are some things that again are important to important messages that we need to see in films these days. And like I said, it seems like we're losing that in the art of these sports films. It seems like there's just less and less of them, and we actually need more and more of them. And I think a lot of that, sometimes these days too, it kind of makes you wonder if, with the political climate and everything, like is it one of these things like people just don't care as much? I just don't know. I just don't know. Bro, you'll thank me. Watch it. It's on Hulu, dubbed if you have it. I don't have Hulu, but I think pretty soon Disney Plus is going to be doing that package with Hulu, Disney Plus, and ESPN. So I don't really watch sports, but maybe I can get on and watch some Hulu. But again, yeah, I mean, there's lessons to be learned throughout these things as well. And again, I think that's a great thing when we see, and that to me, I think that's what makes a lot of these films great. And the thing is like, you watch these films and even these cartoons and things, and you see that most of them, it doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter if you're a man, you're a woman, if you're a child, if you're a if you're a black man, a white man, or anything like that. It doesn't really matter. It's the over resounding message is overcoming adversity. And I think not seeing a lot of that these days is kind of something that's really affecting the world around us. These days we see people that just want to have things just so easily given to them. They're not willing to overcome the adversity or anything like that. Says I'll ping me the account info if you want to watch it. Oh, okay. Yeah, sure. I mean, I don't really have time. I don't really get a whole lot of time to watch TV shows or anything, but I'll definitely check it out here pretty soon. Hashtag password share. That's how I watch DirecTV, dude. Is my sister. She has a DirecTV, so I just get on there and stream occasionally, and I don't even really watch a whole lot of TV, to be honest with you. I mostly watch movies and YouTube. Which is kind of funny because a year ago I didn't even watch YouTube. Like a little over a year ago, I didn't used to get on YouTube at all. Like if there was something that was wrong with my vehicle, and I'm sitting there like, man, like I just can't figure this out. What's going on? So I get on there because I couldn't find it in my manual or something. So I get on there and figure out, oh, okay, well that makes sense. Or you find little shortcuts for something when working on a car, or if I'm playing Star Wars Battlefront and I can't find a particular thing, I'd get on there and look that up really quick, like through, like, I don't know, it was like IGN or something, and get a little hint really quick. Ooh, it's the 9 o'clock timer already, and stuff like that. But then I got here, and now all of a sudden, like, YouTube consumes so much of my time, it's absolutely ridiculous. But yeah, again, getting into these sports movies, this is something I need to talk about more. I need to do a little more research on, because I'm telling you, like, there's just so many of these movies out there, and it seems like we get less and less of them with each passing year. And a lot of these movies are some of the best movies I've ever seen out there. Is seeing these movies of people overcoming their adversity, facing these challenges and things like that. And for me, it's something that's truly inspiring to see. Even more so than when we're watching like a lot of these movies in the Marvel Cinematic Universe and DC and stuff like that. These people who are imbued with superpowers. I mean, while they still have problems, they don't necessarily have the same kind of problems or go through the same things that we do as humans. And but again, they are something that you can still always pull inspiration from. But that was one thing I was noticing is a lot of like the MCU films, they aren't like that. Where if I can read a comic book and I can take some of the comic books out there and be like, man, this actually is inspiring, But again, I mean, it just comes down to great storytelling. Um, but yeah, what other, and maybe before we get into that in the future, what other sports movies are there out there that you like that inspire you? Like I said, Rocky is a huge one for me. Um, yeah, I don't know. Remember the Titans was a good one. The Natural, like I was saying, I can't really say that the Mighty Ducks one was, but it was surely entertaining, wasn't it? Remember the Mighty Ducks? I wonder when Disney's gonna reboot the Mighty Ducks. I'm sure they're probably working on it. But anyway, yeah, I guess I didn't really necessarily talk about movies as much as I did kind of. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. But yeah, anyway, that's all I've got for this video today, folks. It's been fun. It's been an hour already. But thank you all so much for tuning into the Second Street Marvel today. Now, as I was saying before, if you want to, you can. Go to my Facebook page. I got a Facebook page at the Second Street Marvel, or you can even follow me on Twitter, Instagram, or any of those things. Please give me any ideas that you have of things that you would like me to talk about. Like I said, here on the Morning Movie Chats, I'm mostly focusing on films, movies, and things like that. Obviously, you guys know I'm a huge nerd and love the movies of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but there's this whole other world of films out there that are really great. Great filmmakers, great story writers, great screenwriters, and things making these movies. And that's something else for me is I'm not, I used to, when I was a kid growing up, I used to like to watch movies for the particular stars that are in them, and as the further I got along in life, I realized like, wow, a lot of it's like the directors, these writers, these producers, who I look to more and more. Um, Russell says, "Hey bro, I need to get back to work. I'll for real send you that who login access to a bunch of great animes. I'll make a watch list for you. All right. Yeah, you take it easy as well, man. Thanks again for being here. But yes, and and speaking of which, here for my morning movie chats, I've actually reached out to a couple of people that I want to bring here onto the show, so I can make it a little bit better for you. So it's not just me flapping my gums and then all of a sudden going off. Kind of off track like I did today. I wanted to talk about these sports movies and just kind of how they inspire me and help carry me forward. One of the people I have reached out to actually to get into some of these discussions is Stevie J Reviews. I'm not sure if you guys know who Stevie J's Reviews is, but you should definitely check him out here on YouTube. He does a lot of movie reviews and things like that. I know he gets on some others creators and does some live streams with them as well. And he's a pretty cool guy. I hope to get him here on the show very soon. But he does live in a different part of the world as me, so I do know that that's going to be probably my biggest obstacle in bringing another reviewer or movie reviewer here onto the channel so we can talk about more movies. Because in case you guys don't know, the reason I started doing these morning movie chats was because I know there are some people out there who don't like a show like John Campea. And me, I love the John Campea show. I watch it every day. I just don't see a whole lot of other channels out there who discuss movies and films in the same way that they do on that show. And that's kind of why I started the show. And I do realize that for me, I need to bring in somebody else to help me with that, because somebody else that has different opinions and has different thoughts and just different subjects that they want to talk about when we actually get into these things. And maybe, who knows, maybe it'll be somebody that has their like I said, their own outlook, and sometimes just so we can get into some better kind of discussions and not necessarily debates, but talk about these things a little bit more. It gets to be a little bit challenging keeping that conversation going as a single person. But as you guys can see here on my channel, in case you've caught any of my live streams, I have no problem flapping my gums and going on and on about comic books, movies, and even music. It's just something I could really do, because these are the passions. These are the things that I love. But let me know down in the comments below, guys. What is it that you love? What would you like to see me here talk about more here on the morning movie chat? And if you have any guests that you think that I should bring on, that you think would be a great match here for the show, please let me know. Like I said, reach out to me on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, or anything like that. Now, also before I go, I also wanted to say thank you guys so much for tuning in. Now, if you guys ever want to, there's a link down in the description where you can go and send direct donations to help support the channel. You can either go to the Streamlabs and make a direct donation, or you can even become a Patreon supporter. And on Patreon, basically what you do is you sign up and you can donate $1, $5, $10, however much you want to donate to the show or to the channel here on a monthly basis. And on some of those, there's different rewards and things like that. There's different tiers, and don't look too much into those on my Patreon. I just had to get some things thrown on there to get it started, so don't look too much into those. And if you did want to become a Patreon member, the one I would highly suggest, is just do the dollar tier. You don't have to do the 10, the 5, or anything like that. But if you do, I do greatly appreciate it. And all that money that I'm getting from any of these sources is going to go towards upgrading some equipment. I'm going to get a bigger green screen so I can do some more green screen kind of work and videos for you guys. Some funny things that I just kind of have planned and then I want to do. But I also need to get some better lighting. You guys can probably see my lighting here isn't the best, and I also want to yeah, see, there goes that. But I also need to get just some different equipment here. Like I said, I'm a father. I've got three children. I run my own business. I don't always have all the extra money for these types of things. And you viewers, I mean, you guys are the ones who are going to benefit. You guys are the ones who help support this channel. You guys are the ones who are making it grow. And I do greatly appreciate anything that you guys have to offer, even if that's only ideas, okay? Because don't ever underestimate the power of an idea. But anyway, that's all I have for the morning movie chat today, folks. If there's anything else you'd like me to discuss here on the morning movie chat, please, like I said, reach out to me. Let me know. Send me a message. You can find on the About section here on my channel. You can find on my Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, anything like that, to reach out to me and let me know. And like I said, if there's other guests out there that you think might like to come on the show and discuss some of these things that I talk about, please let me know that down in the comments below as well. I do greatly appreciate every single one of you. So that's all I've got for the morning movie chat today, folks. You all have a very good day. Go out there, kick today's butt, and you all have a very good day, and we'll see you in the next video. Later.